sought by human predators. Their enormous bulk makes them easy to catch in the crosshairs. That thick hide is no match for a bullet. Now the guns that nearly wiped the rhinos out are being used in a desperate battle to save them. Here's Keith Miller on the Rhino Wars, inside Dateline's Animal Kingdom.
It's
an animal that has an enormously bad public image.
An undeserved image for such a preposterous creature. An armored amalgam of unicorn and hippopotamus, unchanged over thousands of years. But an animal that may not be around much longer. In the 19th century, 150,000 black rhinos wandered across Africa, their horns and tough hides making them more than a match for the continent's most ferocious predators. Today, fewer than 2,500 black rhinos roam the African plains. They can live for 50 years and weigh up to 6,000 pounds, about the same as your basic family minivan. And they are surprisingly agile and fast, reaching speeds of up to 30 miles an hour.
They have the ability to move like polar bears, extremely swift. Once they hear you running, they just focus in on that sound, and they are after you.
So chased by an armored car.
Yeah, it's like being chased by an armored car.
We explored South Africa's Lapalala Wilderness Game Reserve with Clive Walker, a conservationist with an unlikely background.
It doesn't spring to mind that anyone could feel remotely proud about having shot a white rhino.
And Walker, a former big game hunter, shot a lot of rhinos. They were for a long time considered among the biggest of big game, and trophy hunters slaughtered tens of thousands. As formidable as rhinos are to other animals, they are easy prey for hunters.
They're large, they're very vulnerable, they're extremely easy to kill. It's like throwing a brick at your neighbor's cow.
And although the heyday of the great white hunters is long past, the threat to the rhinos isn't. Those horns that can make short work of a lion are coveted as medicine in Asia. There, the horn is ground into powder, not for use as an aphrodisiac as is widely believed, but to make pills that patients believe will reduce fevers. And in Yemen, the rhino's horn is carved into traditional dagger handles. Incredibly, the demand created by these two markets means a single rhino horn can be worth as much as $30,000. To stop illegal hunting, wildlife officers have turned their game preserves into virtual war zones. This is a live ammunition drill complete with simulated poachers. These are the frontline troops in the battle to restore the rhino. Some game parks have nearly one warden for every rhinoceros. And for the real poachers they catch, like this man caught hunting in a rhino preserve and shot to death, there are no Miranda warnings.
If you think of the destruction and the amount of bloodshed in terms of not only rhinos, but the amount of people that have lost their lives in the rhino wars in Africa, it's a really serious situation.
One of the more controversial tactics in the rhino wars calls for first shooting them with tranquilizer darts from helicopters. Sickened by the sight of slaughtered rhinos untouched except for their horns, game wardens have begun to remove horns from tranquilized rhinos. The logic, no rhino horn, no rhino poaching. The horn is made of keratin, just like human fingernails, so this rhino feels no pain. And scientists say the only thing hurt by this rhinoceros rhinoplasty is the animal's pride. But Walker says the practice only works in the wildlife preserves. It would be too dangerous in the wild, where there are far too many predators.
That horn is used daily by rhinos, not only to defend themselves, but to defend their calves, protect them against lions, hyenas. So the rhino has a horn for a very good reason.
The last best hope for the rhino may be far from the South African bush. Political, economic, and cultural problems that threaten the rhino's survival exist even within the game parks of Africa. So wildlife biologists will do almost anything to stop the rhino's slide toward extinction. In a place thousands of miles from here, Dateline has discovered scientists who are trying to save the rhino. In Texas, where the deer and antelope roam, giraffe, zebra, and rhinoceros have found their own home on the range. At the Fossil Rim Wildlife Center in Glen Rose, Texas, scientists are using the latest in human medical technology to study rhinos.
Good girl. Come on over. They're incredible. They can be very gentle, and they aren't necessarily the savage beasts that they're made out to be.
Dr. Robin Radcliffe is a veterinarian studying the mysteries of rhino reproduction. They're starting from scratch.
We're basically formulating the blueprint of what normal reproductive biology is in this species. Good girl, Coco.
Scientists like Radcliffe look forward to a day when captive rhinos can be reintroduced to the wild. Meanwhile, there's a lot of basic research to help breed them in captivity.
Eventually, if we can perfect artificial insemination techniques or embryo transfer, we could transfer genetic information such as semen or eggs between captive and wild rhino population. There's the follicle right to the left.
Using ultrasound equipment, Radcliffe first determines that Coco, a black rhino, is fertile. That established, a male rhino is brought in. An elaborate courtship dance begins.
They do a lot of fighting, and it's very ritualized so they don't hurt each other.
When Coco became pregnant, she was monitored with the ultrasound machine throughout her pregnancy.
That's a good picture.
Which in rhinos can last 15 months.
Good girl.
By day 56, the rhino fetus is visible in the white areas. By day 107, the nose, eye, and head can be made out. On day 133, the 4 chambers of the beating heart can be seen. And by day 155, you can make out the kicking legs of the upside-down fetus.
We know when to prepare for an upcoming birth, which in a rhino is a pretty major ordeal.
And when Coco delivered Onyx, a bouncing 105-pound female, it was just that, for the rhino and for the researchers. To Radcliffe, these small victories, like Onyx, are just a start in restoring the rhinos.
Humankind is responsible for the current precarious existence of the rhino today, but at the same time, humans also represent their only hope for survival.
There is one part of Africa where efforts to protect the rhino have worked. In South Africa's huge national parks, where 80% of the continent's remaining rhinos live, the population is growing.